Okay, we are live, I believe. Yes, we are. Let me open this door. Cat out real quick. What's up, Tony? First on. Good to see you. Anyways, we're here. It's 10 o'clock on the dot on Saturday, March 20th of 2021. This is weird to say. Good morning, Jim. And today, by the way, for those of you who are watching, is Persian New Year. So the first day of the spring equinox is Persian New Year. I believe it was like 5 in the morning today officially. And it's the first day of spring, and I'm excited. It's a good day for me, for my family, and hopefully that it brings about a lot of newness and freshness to you and your life and your world. If you haven't had a chance to really get going on the regular New Year's when it was December 31st, January 1st, maybe now that you're here, you can take this and create a new New Year's for yourself and see if you can start accomplishing some of the goals that you had before. So to all of the Iranians watching this, Happy New Year to you, Eid Shol Mubarak, and thank you for being here to be a part of this with us today. And I'm so committed to this that I don't even miss it on New Year's, and that's a goal, that's a fact. So let me just introduce myself real quick. For those of you who are new watching this, my name is Param. And let's see, I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. I'm a licensed addictions counselor. For those of you who are watching this that happen to be in recovery, I'm also in recovery. I've been clean and sober since June 13th of 2008. I'm also a high school basketball coach, and we started our season this Monday. We have our first game this upcoming Thursday. I'm very excited, very, very excited for it. And that's pretty much who I am. And I'm here every single week. I'm committed to you and your recovery of yourself, your family, your loved one, and we've been doing this together for a while now, and I'm really just honored to have this opportunity to be a part of your life. So all that being said, let's get into the topic today, what we're going to be talking about. Today we're going to be talking about the topic of letting go. Okay, letting go. This is something that is very undervalued but very much needed in life. This topic suggestion was recommended to me by one of our viewers last week. He stated that he likes to read about various ways of letting go. He understands in theory the practical but the practical application of letting go is the challenge for him. So hopefully we're going to talk a little bit in general about letting go, talk about attachment, talking about acceptance, talking about a few techniques that might help. But this is really going to be important for you family members watching this, because a lot of you are holding on to your loved one's addiction. You're holding on to some of the decisions that you made or didn't make regarding your loved one's addiction. You're holding on to a lot of feelings of guilt and shame you have towards yourself around the topic of addiction. You're holding on to a lot of anger and resentment towards addiction itself, towards the circumstance, towards the situation, maybe towards treatment, maybe towards the recovery world, all that kind of stuff like that. And today's talk is intended on the first day of spring to free you from all that stuff, or at least get you going in the right direction to ultimately free you of that stuff. So today we're talking about letting go. If you're here for the first time, please stay, engage in the side comment, chat box, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of good conversation that comes out of it. So there's a Persian poet. Let's start with him because of Persian New Year's. And he says, and his name is Rumi, that he says life is all about a balance between letting go and holding on. So all life is a dance. It's this balance, it's this dance of what do I hold on to and what do I let go of, right? So all of you watching this right now, there are certain things in your life that you're holding on to. And these things that you're holding on to, they often, almost always happened in the then and there. So maybe they happened earlier this morning. Maybe they happened last week. Maybe they happened last month. Maybe they happened 10 years ago. Maybe they happened 15 years ago. And all the people saying good morning to you. I know there's a lot of familiar faces and stuff like that. Love you guys, man. Really good to see everyone here. And so these things happen then and there. However, as human beings, we tend to hold on to things in life. We don't let go of them. We hold on to them. And why do we do so? And here's the reason why. Because we get some value out of it. We are so selfish by nature that we will never hold on to something unless we get value out of it. So if I put my hand in my pocket and I pull out a $100 bill, you best believe I put that $100 bill right back in my pocket. But if I put my hand in my pocket and I get a piece of trash, a receipt, I will discard, I will throw that away. Now the things that we hold on to as human beings that happen then and there, whether it's certain feelings we're holding on to, whether it's certain resentments, whether it's control, whether it's whatever we're holding on to, the only reason we hold on to it is because we get some value out of it. What we hold on to lets us justify, lets us rationalize, lets us intellectualize, lets us blame, lets us validate for what we do in life. Okay? So I'm going to give you, before I get into some tips that I have here, I'm going to get into a real example of what human beings do with the things they hold on to and what the cost of all that is. Okay? So let's do this. The things we hold on to always happen in the past. So let's say that you watching this are holding on to a past status that you had, like who you are in the past life. Maybe you're holding on to an ex-relationship that you had, right? That went wrong, bad, whatever you want to call it. Maybe you're holding on to addiction. Maybe you're holding on to control. Maybe you're holding on to codependency. Maybe you're holding on to resentment and so many other things. And you're holding on to these things and they happen in the past. So imagine having your hands full of these things in the past, okay? Now here's the thing, life never happens backwards. Life never moves backwards. For all you family members watching this, remember this, that life happens in a moment by moment development towards what we call tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. So the future is just another moment that hasn't arrived yet. So as you're holding on to everything in your past, you're holding on to, like I said, control, anger, addiction, mental health, whatever you're holding on to, life happens in a moment by moment advancement. Now in the future for a lot of us, there are different things that are possible and available for us. They're accessible for us. What are some of those things? Maybe in the future, there is peace of mind and serenity available for you. Maybe in the future, there is acceptance available for you. Maybe in the future, there is recovery available for you. There's improved mental health. There's sobriety available for your loved one even, right? And as you hold on to the past and you move forward step by step, moment by moment to the future, now all of these things are sprinkled in front of you. Now here is a dilemma in life. If you choose to hold on to everything, and you're faced with everything new, you have a choice to make. And what's that choice? Either you let go of what you're holding on to so you can embrace a new experience, or you continue to hold on to what you're holding on to, continue to hold on to anger, resentment, control, codependency, all that kind of stuff, and you move forward into the future still holding on to all that stuff. Now watch what happens here, my friends. If you don't let go of what you're holding on to, if you don't find ways to let go, whatever you're holding on to in the past becomes a part of your future. That's why some of you have experienced the same week, the same month, the same year, for some of you the same decade, because you weren't willing or didn't know how or didn't feel compelled to let go of what you were holding on to and how you were living. So the choice is simple. If you choose to hold on to what you want, that's your choice. No one can come take that away from you. If you were holding on to control in the past and you're still holding on to control right now, that's on you. However, this is what you got to do. So you have to identify what it is you're holding on to. Okay? It could be something as small as an argument you got into yesterday. It could be something as big as a divorce you went through. It could be something as bigger than that as someone passing away. It could be addiction. It could be mental health deterioration, whatever it is that you're holding on to, right? Identify, make a list of what those things are. And then, like I said, when you move into the future, there are things available for you. There's improved mental health, there's sobriety, there's serenity, there's forgiveness, right? There's freedom, there's acceptance. Write down what all of those things are that are available to you. And then you do a cost payoff analysis. You find out what's the cost and what's the payoff. So what do you get out of holding on to these things? This is the hardest part that you have to come up to, is by holding on to all of these things, what do you get out of it? You get out the fact that you're right about those things. You get the fact that you're justified in those things. You get a lot of sense of you would do the same thing too, entitlement, all that kind of stuff. You have to find out what you get out of it. You know, a lot of people struggling with addictions, by the way, when they hold on to resentments, every drip of alcohol that goes down their throat, every drug they inject into their body, it's always, almost always because of these things they're holding on to, right? So the payoff for them is it lets them continue a certain behavior that they have. A lot of times, parents hold on to guilt. This happens in divorce all the time, by the way. Two parents get in a divorce, right? The kid's young and they get in a divorce, and the parents feel so guilty. They hold on to this serious amount of guilt that they have because of what happened. And guess what happens? When they hold on to that guilt, they allow their loved one to do whatever the heck they're doing because they're holding on to this guilt that they have because of the divorce. And they won't let go of it. And they just feel bad. Parents always say, I just feel so bad. I feel like this was my fault. Eventually, you got to let go of that stuff. So letting go, remember, is the attribute of the strong, right? Sometimes holding on does more damage than letting go, right? There's an analogy we use in treatment. If there was a rope that you're holding on to, a really thick rope you're holding on to, and someone starts tugging on the rope as hard as they can, and you choose not to let go of it. And I'm really making a hard fist right here, if you guys can see this. If you hold on to the rope, and someone's chugging it, and you keep holding on, eventually your hand's going to get cut. It's going to cut lacerations. It might need stitches, but you just choose not to let go, right? Holding on sometimes hurts as more as letting go. Sometimes in life, you just got to let certain things go. Or you can choose to hold on. But remember, when you do so, you got to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Human beings do not hold on to anything unless they get some value out of it. So, here's the kind of the suggestions that I have here. It's I created this list on my own based on some information that I've had over the years. So let's go through it. And first of all, you have to recognize when it is time to move on. So find out what it is you're trying to let go of and recognize when it's time to move on. And how do you know when it is? When the pain of holding on becomes more than letting go. Right? So imagine if I'm holding on to these two really, really big weights, right? These heavy dumbbells in my hands, or the rope we were talking about. When it eventually gets to the point that I can't hold these weights anymore, I let go. So the pain of holding on becomes more than just the act itself. Now, what are you holding on to in regards to your own recovery, in regards to addiction? holding on to the banana. What are you guys holding on to that you need to let go of? The pain of holding on becomes more. It becomes more. It becomes more. You know what it is. Some of you have been holding on to a certain type of thought pattern that you've had your whole life, and it's just becoming painful. You got to recognize when that time is. And for some people, it's quick. Some people like to hold on to an argument that happened, for days and weeks. And some people just say, hey, I'm going to let that thing go. It's personal for everyone. However, you need to recognize that. The next thing here, I think this is a really powerful distinction. So you know me, you've been with me every single week here. I always talk about a to-do list, right? The importance of creating a to-do list, because I believe that if you fail to plan, then you should just plan to fail, right? Preparation is really, really important. And then sometimes for some of you, I've talked about, well, if you don't want to do a to-do list, write down a not to-do list. So what are 10 things that you are not to do today, right? Maybe 5 things not to do today, because as long as you don't do those things, chances are you're doing things that you probably should be doing. So not to-do list is sometimes just as effective as a to-do list. Now here's this one for letting go. Write yourself a redo list, okay? A redo list. What are some things in your life that you actually can redo that previously when you've done them, you feel like you could have done them differently, and do them again? However, learn from any type of mistake, lesson, any type of nuggets that you found in the previous experience. And when you redo it, utilize all that experience to get a different outcome, right? Sometimes you have to let go of a past failed experience and redo it to hopefully achieve the outcome that you want, to achieve success that you want. So many people, thank you. I'm glad, Denise, this talk could not have come at a better time. So many people do something and they fail at it. And I always put failure in air quotes because I don't believe in failure. I legitimately don't believe in failure. I think that any perceived failure is actually a blessing because it has more lessons inside that experience than doing something with success does. Like losing is the greatest teacher. Loss is the greatest teacher. Failure is the greatest teacher. Winning doesn't bring out our character. It doesn't reveal our character. Adversity does, right? Adversity reveals their character. So make a redo list. And if you've tried to let go in the past and you were unable to, redo it again. Redo it again. Redo it again. Redo it again. As long as you're committed that each time you redo it, that you're willing to take something from the past experience. Because if you don't, your past will continue to repeat itself in the future again. It will continue to repeat itself in the future again. Some of you that have been trying to let go of something for an extended period of time and you can't, it's because you're not soaking in and you're not taking away and you're not learning from your own experiences. The answers are right there. You just choose to not see them. Or you choose not to incorporate them in the next time. So the next one, this one's important, is to believe in yourself. You know, what's my premise of all these talks? I believe in the possibility of human transformation. I believe that all human beings watching this, all family members watching this, whether you're a person addicted to alcohol and drugs or you're a family member addicted to your kid, you know, same thing, you have the ability to transform. If you felt like that you've been unable to do something, to let go of things in the past, that is only a construct of your mind. It is not based in reality. It is a story that you're telling yourself about yourself and how you let go or don't let go. And that story is something that you can change, right? So believe in yourself when it comes to letting go. So many family members that are watching this right now, at some point in their life, if I would have told them that you just need to let go of control, you need to let go of your loved one's addiction, you need to let go of trying to, orchestrate everything, they would have been like, absolutely not. There's no way I can do that. If I do that, my kid's going to not be able to be okay, blah, 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 this, that. However, life happens. And now they've gotten to the point that they're able to detach with love. They're able to let go. And at some point in their life, they never believe they can do that. Some of the individuals in recovery watching this, if I would have told their addicted self, right, that one day in life you're going to be helping other people out, you're going to be clean and sober, you're going to be a family man, you're going to be a family woman, you're going to be you're going to be walking women through the program, you're going to be helping family members out, they would have been like, no, absolutely not, right? But we got to believe in ourselves. And here's the thing, if you're watching this talk and you don't have any belief in yourself and you don't think that you're able to let go and you don't think that you're able to create and become something else, ask a few people about yourself. Ask them, hey, what do you think about me? Tell me some character traits about me. What do you see in me? Because they're going to tell you things about yourself that you will not believe on your own. However, are you willing to believe them? Are you willing to let go of the thoughts, feelings, ideas you have of yourself and try to take on something else, a different possibility? If you've had a hard time letting go of control in the past, this is a good example, are you willing to believe that one day you can do so? If the answer is no, if you say, I can't, guess what? You never will. But if you say, you know what? In the past, I've really struggled with it, but today I'm going to really be conscious and mindful of control in my life and letting go of control anytime I can, even if it's in small dosages of it. Because over time, small, repetitive experiences create changes, right? The person that goes to the gym and lifts a 5-pound dumbbell over and over again, in the beginning, if you give them a really, really heavy weight, they're not going to be able to move it. But over time, 5 pounds at a time, 5 pounds at a time, 5 pounds at a time, before you know it, they got 50 pounds and they're moving it. So if you're unable to deal with control, letting go, all that stuff in your life, practice small daily disciplines over an extended period of time and see what you're capable of doing. Most people lack consistency, by the way. People try something in very, very short amounts of time. Remember what I always say, my friends. People overestimate what they can do in a week or a month and underestimate what they can do in a year. People think they can get to somewhere by like doing a few actions, talking to a few people, reading a few books, taking a walk. No. Are you willing to do it over an extended period of time? Because our patterns and our habits are developed over a period of time. If something takes years and years and years to develop, it's not going to get reprogrammed in just a week or a few months. Impossible. It took me about 7 years to reprogram myself. 7 years to reprogram myself. From the way I thought, the way I acted, the way I believed, the way I engaged, the way I went through life, the way I processed my emotions, the way I communicated, the way I was in relationships, the way I show up to work. 7 years to reprogram myself. People want to change in 30 days. People want to change after reading a book. People want to change after having a talk with a therapist. It doesn't happen. Someone's got to tell the truth to family members too, by the way. I believe that this is a very, very important conversation. The same way that everything has a natural course. Transformation doesn't happen. It can happen in a moment. I believe in the possibility of human transformation, but I don't believe sustained transformation happens in a moment. It happens in a moment by moment commitment to transformation. Okay? The next one that I have is to meditate. So if you're trying to let go, you got to learn how to meditate. And I'm not saying, so I'm here standing in front of you, I got long hair, I got beads on, I got a hemp t-shirt, and you're looking at me saying, dude, I don't want to be anything like you. I don't want to be a hippie. I don't want to be, that's not my style, that's too much. And let's just say Parham's all the way over here on this extreme, right? And let's say that no meditation, not taking time to introspect and reflect and all that kind of stuff is the opposite side of it. You got to find something somewhere that works for you in the middle if you're trying to let go. Because what happens with meditation is you pause. This world is moving really fast, by the way. We don't really feel it, but the world is moving really fast, not only around itself, but it's moving really fast through space. It's really easy to get lost. It's really easy to get lost in self. Meditation, which by the way, doesn't mean you're supposed to stop your thinking. Whoever told you meditation means to sit down and not think for a while is not telling you the truth. Meditation is a process. You sit down to reflect. You sit down to be quiet. You sit down to introspect, right? The quieter you become, the more you can hear. It allows us to detach from emotions. It allows us to be more objective. It allows us to realize what is the best course of action here. You all know when you go through addiction of a loved one, how heightened are your emotions? Everything that happens in their life makes you feel like you're about to, it's like an emergency. Where's the meditation in that moment? When are you going to pause when agitated or doubtful? When are you going to take a step back, go inward, take some deep breaths, and reappear in a version that's more effective? If you've been unable to let go of things in the past, have you truly sat down to introspect, what are these things I'm trying to let go of? Have you written them down in priorities? Have you taken an honest look at them? Right? Have you done that process over and over and over again? Meditation is not something you do once. Meditation could be something you do throughout the day, 1 minute at a time, right? 30 seconds at a time, 5 times a day. Can you do that? Because what happens is it repeats itself, and all of a sudden you're reprogramming your mind to think differently. It's not just something you do for a few months, it's a way of life. And some people say, well, hey, I don't want to meditate. That's okay, that's on you. However, I'm telling you, if you want to have the ability and the self-awareness to be able to let go of things, you're going to need to pause at some point. Because left to our own devices, this world, like I said, moves fast. Around its axis, through the galaxy, it's moving. 8 billion people making noise. The lawnmower guy's making noise out there. And the power of meditation is this, is it allows you, right, meditation allows you to find the serenity in the midst of chaos. Say that again. Meditation allows you to find serenity in the midst of chaos. This world is chaotic. Serenity can't be bought anywhere. Serenity can be found. And it can be found within self if you pause, reflect, introspect, and see what's inside. I promise you, there is a lot of peace, there's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of power that you have just chilling inside your chest. Tap into it. Seek it and see what it does if you're trying to let go of stuff. The next one is don't forget your morals and values. This one's huge. I talked about this morning with our program participants. So, values clarification. You're like, Param, what does values have to do with letting go? I will tell you since you asked. So, when you write down what your values are, by the way, everyone watching this right now, the 18 or 19 people on and the people that keep coming and going, every one of us have different values in life. Some people think that we all share the same values. We actually don't, and that's okay. But you need to find out what are your values, right? Your morals, your values. What is your North Star? What guides you? What are you built upon? What's your foundation? What is important to you? And here's why. When you're able to identify your values, anything else that doesn't fall in your values is a blueprint of what you need to work on letting go of. I'll say that again. When you identify your values, it also tells you something. It tells you what you need to let go of. So when you hold on to anything that's not congruent, that doesn't match your value system, it should be a red flag. Like, okay, I need to let go of this. Why am I holding on to this? What am I getting out of this? What value is this giving me? And begin that process. One of the exercises we always do with people in recovery, whether it's individuals addicted to the drugs and alcohol or their family members, is identify values clarification. There's an exercise that sometimes it happens in treatment, but believe it or not, it's just a therapeutic exercise that I could suggest it to people. You know, it's on you if you want to do it. It's kind of heavy. But they even do it with like executive training. They do it with leadership training. They do it with CEOs that aren't even related to treatment. And here's what they do. They suggest that every individual writes down their eulogy. Okay, for those of you who don't know what a eulogy is, some of you might not know, it's what someone comes and reads about you after you've passed away, about who you are, how you lived, what you've accomplished in life, how you want to be remembered. So some of you that have a fear of, this conversation right now, you're like, whoa, that's heavy stuff. But hear me out, and I'll tell you why this is important when it comes to the topic of holding on and letting go. When you write your eulogy, and you want to reflect, go somewhere quiet. Today's the first day of spring, so what a beautiful time to do that. Go somewhere quiet in your own world and write down a few pages of how you want to be remembered and what you want people to say about you. And what this does, this piece of paper, gives you a blueprint of a few things. Number one, if whatever you're going through in life right now doesn't make it to your eulogy, it gives you a little perspective of how important or not important it actually is, right? Sometimes people stress about things, and if it doesn't mean something to you in a month, or if it doesn't mean something for you in a year, or if it doesn't mean anything at the end of it, what's the big deal, right? But the other thing it does is when you write the end, how you want to be remembered, what you accomplished, what you did, it gives you a step-by-step reverse breakdown of what you need to do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year to get there. When you have the destination, it shows you the road of what you got to do to get there. That's why they use it a lot of times with executives, because they'll have grand ideas about a company, and how do you get there? Well, you go reverse by reverse engineer that thing. So it's a powerful thing. And the other thing too, by the way, when you identify what's important to you, your values, let's say like family is important to you. Honesty is important to you. Integrity is important to you. Health is important to you. Whatever is important to you gives you the blueprint of what you need to hold on to. Remember, Rumi said life is a balance between what you hold on to and what you let go of. Our values give us a clear understanding of that. If it's important to you, hold on to it. Find a way to hold on to it without hurting yourself. And if it's not important to you, man, let that thing go. There's enough crap in this world. There's enough junk in this world that we keep grabbing onto more stuff. The next one I have right here is forgive. Now, this is always talked about when someone talks about letting go. Forgiveness, 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 forgiveness. This quote really resonated with some of the people earlier today. Sometimes in life, you have to be okay and you have to be able to move on with never getting the apology from someone that owes you an apology. That's heavy. So sometimes in life, there are people that have done us wrong. There are people that have hurt us. There are people that have wounded us. And I'm telling you that if you're trying to move on in life, if you're trying to heal in life, sometimes you have to be okay with never receiving that amends or that apology. You know how many people I've seen that wait, that destroy their own lives because they're just waiting for something to happen. They're holding on to something, that an expectation of something happening that never happens, ever. They're a prisoner of that event their entire life. And I'm not saying you got to forgive the person. I'm not saying that's none of my business. You know, people do some bad things out there, and I'm not saying you got to forgive the person. But you got to forgive, and here's why. You have to forgive, I'm saying this really slowly, because it frees you up. It's nothing to do with them. When we forgive, the act of forgiveness in life is very, very self-fulfilling. Forgiveness is for self. It frees us up to be able to move on. And maybe one day that person comes around and says, you know what, I harmed you in life and I want to make it right. Maybe. But we can't wait around holding for that. So sometimes you have to let go of the expectation of something happening in life. And then here's the thing. Forgiveness is also a muscle. Most people watching this, especially if you're in this because of recovery, there is a lot of feelings towards yourself that you have because of the coulda, woulda, shouldas. I should have done it differently. I could have done it differently. I need to, I don't know, I knew better. You know, we just have all this like negative self-talk about our experiences in life. And you got to forgive yourself. You got to forgive yourself, man. You just have to. It's, there is no way that you can move forward. Yeah, actually, someone wrote there. Jim wrote, acceptance or forgive. No other options to be able to move on. Move forward is exactly what I was talking about. You can't move on unless you forgive. You know how many family members, they have a hard time forgiving themselves for things they didn't even know about or things they had no control over. Right? And again, they hold on to that. They hold on to that. They hold on to that. They hold on to that of how a few of their actions caused ripple effects down the road that they would have never been able to see. You know, at some point, life is just life. Life is just life sometimes. And the next one is letting go of anger and resentment. So anger and resentment are toxic. So toxic meaning what? Toxic means it will kill you. And I'm not just talking about like I'm talking literal. Anger and resentment will kill you. It erodes the inner soul of a human being. It erodes our thoughts. It's insidious. It infects. And it impacts all different versions of ourselves. Right? Anger and resentment, holding on to anger and resentment is holding on to something that is legitimately killing you. And I know I'm sounding very direct and very assertive when I'm saying this, but because I've seen people hold on to anger and resentment for days, weeks, months, years, decades, and they are the ones dying inside. The other person is not even impacted by it. You know, we talk about someone living in your head rent-free. So that's someone living in your mind, body, spirit, your soul living rent-free. So family members, what type of forgiveness, what type of anger am I talking about? You, and I don't know a lot of you too much, but I know enough family members tell you this. Family members have a lot of anger and a lot of resentment to a few things. Number one, towards themselves, because they've done certain things over and over again, even when they didn't want to do it, and they're like, God, why did I do it again? When you enable them one more time, when you bail them out one more time, when you lie for them one more time, when you minimize what they did one more time, when you yell at, when you get angry at them one more time, right? So family members have a lot of anger and resentment towards themselves. They have a lot of anger and resentment towards their loved one. Now this is kind of like, they're like, no, but I love my loved one. I love my son. I love my daughter. I love my spouse. I didn't say you didn't, but we can still have a lot of anger and resentment towards other people. I mean, here's the most mind-blowing thing in the world. Life isn't always about this or this. It's not always about one or two. It's not always about black or white. Sometimes life can be about love and hate, love and anger, one and two, black and white. It's not binary. So you can actually love someone with all of your heart, all of your soul. You can just devote your whole world to them, but you can also be angry at them. You could be frustrated with them. You could be irritated with them. You could be annoyed by them. Family members, you have anger and resentment towards your loved one. It's not all love. You know, they've done things that have actually caused harm to you psychologically, emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually. So it's okay to own that, but you got to be willing to let that go. Family members could have anger and resentment towards addictions. There's so many family members that are angry at addictions, especially when they don't understand it at first. I mean, later on you might be able to come along and learn things like addiction is a family disease, or learn more about the phenomenon of addiction and trauma and people using it to self-medicate their underlying wounds, or using it to feel good because they don't feel that good. You know, that kind of stuff. There's different ways that you learn later on, but at first you're pissed off about this stuff. Why do you keep doing this stuff? Why do you keep buying this stuff? What is this crap? Right? Mental health, mental illness. There's family members that are angry about that stuff. So letting go of this becomes really, really, really important. And this part's really goes to forgiveness, but family members, you need to realize, you need to remember that whatever you did, whenever you did it, prior to getting exposed to recovery, you did the best you could with what you knew at the time. I've never met a family member that loves their loved one, that loves their spouse, loves their kid, loves their grandkid, that says, you know what, I'm just going to do my worst job possible here to get my kid help. I'm just going to give it my least amount of effort. You know, everybody just freaks out. They get highly triggered. They get highly engaged, motivated. And they say, oh my God, what are we going to do to help? And at that moment, they actually try the best they can. Later on, you look back and say, God, what was I thinking? You know, I had no idea what I was doing. You didn't have that information available to you at the time. You didn't have that reflection. You didn't have that rear view mirror to be able to see clearly. Hindsight is 20/20 for a reason, right? So if you're trying to let go of anger and resentment, you have to let go of this thing that you were supposed to do something differently in the past. What happened is what happened. However, you know, you've heard me talk enough times to know what's coming next. Once you've been exposed to this information, once someone has told you about what the right and wrong thing is when it comes to addictions and enabling and recovery, and you continue to choose to take the same actions, you continue to do what you did in the past that didn't work for you, that you didn't know any better at the time, at that point, it is 100% on you. Nothing or no one else. It's not even on your loved one that's repeating the same process. It's on you. And sometimes people say, well, I choose to do it. Well, we're free to take all the choices we want in life, my friends. We're just not free of the consequences of those choices. So if you want to enable your loved one again, you're actually free to do so. It's nobody's business to tell you not to. However, if there is a cycle of consequences that follows that, you chose to bring that into your life. Fair enough. So I was in my little research yesterday. By the way, if there's any feedback on the side, feel free to. I have about 4 quotes that I found that I really thought was valuable. And I'll share those with you real quick. So the first one that I found that was really good, talking about control, it says, when you can't control what's happening, challenge yourself to control the way you respond to what's happening. That's where your power is. Okay, so a lot of family members, when they're vulnerable and they're scared about addictions, about deteriorating mental health, about, you know, everything going on in your world, it's a sense of loss of control. Okay, so we feel like we don't have any control over the situation. And when that happens, the challenge here becomes to do this, is to be able to control the way you're responding to it. Because here's a news flash. You never have control over that stuff. You never have control over anything that's happening outside of you. You might think you do, and we'll talk about that it is an illusion. You might think that you do. However, you always have control over your response to what is happening. And when you tap into that, by the way, sometimes meditating for a few seconds helps you get there. When you get there, that's when you actually gain your power back make the right decisions in your life, in your recovery, to do the right things. And I want all of you to feel empowered and be able to touch your power, because you all have it. But it doesn't happen in controlling other things. It happens with controlling your response to it. I just want to read that comment real quick. Not dealing with the anger and resentment, denying that you are holding on to it, will slowly but surely affect most other relationships you have. Absolutely, Denise. Thank you for this light bulb moment. It's your. I know you a little bit. You know, I know your history. We've had the privilege of meeting. It's definitely a part of your life. I know this stuff needs to practice much more. So I know you say it's a light bulb moment, but it's I actually talked about your true story. So it's okay to love your loved one and also be pissed the heck off at them at the same time. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. People that know they are loved know they're loved, and people that don't know they're loved don't know they're loved. So the love of a mom or dad to their kid, it's proven at all times, not just in the moment of being frustrated with them. So yeah, the recovery process, and it shows up in different ways, man. It shows up with relationship with others and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for taking time to write that. This one's great. I think this was the quote that I love the most. It says, if you want real control, drop the illusion of control. So if you want real control, some people say, well, I'm like a control person. I'm a control freak. I need to control things. I need to control life and this and that. The only way you're ever going to achieve that kind of control is when you drop the illusion of control and realize that you don't control anything at all. This is kind of tough to do for some people, but it can happen. And the last two that I have, this one's from, so I always use like Rumi and Shakespeare and all these, but this one's Tupac Shakur. So not really something that most of you hear me reference to, but I will. He says you can spend minutes, hours, days, weeks, or even months over analyzing a situation, trying to put together the pieces, justifying what could have or would have happened, or you can just leave the pieces on the floor and move on. Right? So you can spend hours, days, weeks, months, years trying to figure out what happened, trying to just go through it and go through it and go through it and just doing the whole world and just running yourself through a mental marathon. Or sometimes in life, you can just leave the pieces on the floor and just move on. Because that moving on allows you to start something fresh and new rather than just repeating that same thing over and over again. And I'm not saying all the time, because you've heard me say 1,000 times that when you go through something, you have to reflect on it. But some family members and some human beings get trapped in that cycle of just dwelling on it and repeating on it and obsessing about it. Sometimes it's just time to move on. There was someone that had a relapse in our program, and they were 90 days sober, something like that, and then they relapsed, and they're doing good now. They have about like 7 or 8 months clean and sober now. So in the past year of their life, they only had 1 day out, that kind of stuff. But when they first got back, they were really dwelling about their relapse. They were just like really, really depressed about it. And that person, hey, you can dwell about everything, but here's the thing. Let's move on. And now it's been 7 months since they moved on, but it wouldn't have happened if they would have kept dwelling over the experience of the relapse. Sometimes in life, you just got to look forward and move forward. And the very last one, it's a Buddha quote. So I can't end with Tupac Shakur. I got to end with Buddha just to match my beads in my hair and my hemp shirt that I got going on here. But he says, in the end, only 3 things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. Okay? Oh man, that's a beautiful one right there. So find out what's not meant for you, my friends, and do the work to let it go. The more you let go, the more you gain control. You gain control of your thoughts, your feelings, your actions. You gain control of yourself. The Buddha also says that attachment is the root of all suffering. So the more you learn how to detach from things, good or bad, just detach from them as a moment experience that you've had in life, the more peace and serenity you're going to have. So all that being said, it's 10:45. This was wonderful. This is all about letting go. This applies whether you're in the recovery process for yourself, for a loved one. Count on me to do this every week. I'm going to go kind of get ready and head over to my mom and dad's house for Persian New Year's. I want you guys to all know I love and appreciate all of you. Wouldn't want to start the Persian. By the way, it's the year 1400 in Iran calendar. So we're year 2021 here, but it's the year 1400 over there, and who cares at the end of it anyways? We're all spinning on this world in the, a couple 100,000 miles an hour in the galaxy anyway. So love and appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week. If you have any topics, if you have any questions, if there's anything you want to hear about, anything that you're just like, hey, I need more information about, send me a message. I will 100% cover it for you. You have my word, and we'll go from there. So have a wonderful one, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, everyone. Oh, thank you. This one was one of your best. I like that. As long as I'm getting better, Lynn, I want to always know that I'm headed on an upward slant in life. Anytime it's like one of my worst, please also let me know so I know how to adjust. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you.